Yeah, they would be considered a subcontractor. And you would, if it's above $600, you're required to issue them a 1099. And it's on them to report the income if it's less than. Now, if that person works for you on a regular basis, say you say, all right, we're doing one workshop a week for the next 10 weeks, that person's probably an employee. You need to do a W-2. There again, you've got to look at the facts and circumstances of each case, but, you know.
And then if you pay them, say for this 1 hour workshop, $100, do I have to still undo the subtraction of the 1090 or?
No, you just write a check for 100. If they're a contractor, if you don't determine when and where they work every day, they'd be considered a contractor, you write them a check. Sure.
And that's true, most 1099.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important. Anybody that, if you're running a small business and the guy comes and mows your grass and you pay him $1,200 during the year, make sure you give that guy the 1099. There are now questions on individual tax or the corporation tax returns, Schedule C's as well. Did you pay anybody that should have gotten a 1099? And you say yes. And then the next question is, did you or will you issue that 1099? And you don't want to be saying no there, I don't think. Because I think, you know, that's just, hey, come get it. But yeah, I mean, know what you got to do. I mean, that's part of the slideshow there. I mean, you've got to understand your reporting requirements. It's a bunch of them. And you need to get somebody to help you if you don't understand them. There's some good publications on the IRS website. Just go to irs.gov, look for publications. There's one called Small Business Record Keeping. And it's great. I mean, if you can't sleep one night, you start reading that thing, and it'll put you right to bed. And you do that for 3 or 4 nights, you'll have that thing knocked out. But it really is as good, and it tells you the reporting requirements. If you have employees, there's a bunch of requirements there. There's a bunch. And it's complicated. Yes, ma'am.
I've been perfectly happy as a sole proprietor for 20 years. Any compelling reason I should become an LLC?
What do you do again?
Design shop.
The only reason you want to become LLC is for the liability protection. Somebody falls down, slips on the ice in front of your store, they can sue you. You have insurance for that?
Yeah.
What if somebody sued you for like $10 million?
Well, they
They broke their back.
Can they sue you something you don't have?
Well, they can sue you for anything. They can sue you for anything. The idea behind it, though, if your business is in the LLC, somebody slips in your store, breaks their hip, they can only sue the LLC. They can only give what's in the LLC.
Right.
They can't come after your house. They can't come after your
Since
kids'
the house is
college.
already mortgaged, but kids through college, there's really no house for them to get either.
Yeah.
So,
But what if I told you you could set up an LLC in like 20 minutes? And it's not going to cost you anything but an annual filing fee. Would it be worth it?
then my next question would be, how much more difficult is it to make my tax return?
No. You do the same thing.
I still just,
You still file Schedule C.
it's no different.
The name changes on Schedule C. It changes to Sylvia Josie LLC, or whatever you call it.
And the fee right now is like just.
It's $50. It's $50 a year. It's $100 to set it up, and
So obviously,
$50 a
one
year.
time I paid $100 and
$50 a year. And then you change one line on your Schedule C and do the same thing you've been doing.
I don't have to call the city and change my business license or.
The correct answer there is no. The business license will come addressed to the LLC once the LLC is formed.
How will you find out if it's formed?
Well, she would just change the name on the report, right?
Yeah.
She said it
The
in.
filing, when you get in January, you just change that. So we would change it to her. And the other reason we keep on changing in that is, if some legal ramification comes between our office and your business.
Yeah. Is there a special form I have to fill out, or I just write on here, I've changed my name to this?
You can just write on there.
Yeah.
And when you go to the State Corporation Commission, we have access to that. We do it, we look up all the time, and we can cross-reference for that too.
Yeah, you notify my insurance agent, my business agent.
Yeah. That's it though, I mean, it's
It's really more of a business name change than anything.
more or less, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you won't do one thing different, other than order some new checks that have the LLC on it. And you don't even have to get a federal ID number if you don't have employees.
Well,
But I
have
recommend
10
it.
employees.
Oh, you have 10 employees?
Yeah.
So you get sued by that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you already got the federal ID
Yeah.
number. You will have to get a new federal ID
I have to get
once you
a
change
federal ID.
entities. Yeah.
So
Once you-
basically, I would change my business name.
Yeah.
Get a new federal ID.
Uh,
It's just that, you know, with raising 3 kids, I never thought I had anything anybody could sue me for.
Well, I mean, I get that part too, but for no more trouble than it is, I can't imagine not having. I mean, people will sue for anything. I mean, I can't imagine not doing it. Does that answer your question? Anybody else? You?
Mark, and I don't want to take any of your time. One of the reasons we came today is to hear what Mark had to say. And we've got a pretty good cross-reference here of larger businesses and small ones that are opening up. And what we want to do in the future too with the Institute, and maybe even in conjunction with the Chamber, or even with Mark and his business, is have a session or a small class where Dave and Bruce and myself, we kind of introduced ourselves, because we get questions from this side of the room a lot. And we still get questions from James and his people that have larger businesses, but usually the startup people will come to our office with the business license and the business personal property. We try to explain that and what you're required to do there. And, you know, after a period of time, when you're in James's shoes, and this young lady's shoes, then Bruce and Dave will call you and find out whether you've been keeping your books correct. And that's why we try to work closely with Mark and his business too, because we're looking at the things that Mark does. But I don't have any business cards today, but you can go on our website. But we'd be glad to talk to any of the new startups about what you do and then what these guys can advise you of what they're going to be looking at in case the day comes that they come and ask to open your books up. And that's legally, the Commissioner Revenue Office has that authority through the state to do a compliance review. We call it a compliance review, not an audit. Audit's a four-letter word. And, we call
Audit
it,
scares people.
yeah, and we call it compliance review. But we'll be glad to talk to anybody later on. But like I said, Mark, I don't want to take up your time, but that's the reason we came today, is so we can understand better what Mark is instructing you all to do and what your all's questions are to Mark and eventually to us. This one about the LLC is a great question. We don't require that change in our office, except the fact that we want to know. Once the form that she will get in January, she can change it right on that. And like I say, we can get a copy of her corporation entity through the SEC, so that's not a problem for us. But if you got any questions, don't hesitate to get on the website, look the Commissioner Revenue Office up, come by with 311 Memorial Drive where you pay utility bills. We're on the second floor. Dave and Bruce, both of them have auditing backgrounds. Dave is a former business owner here in the city. Bruce worked internal audit for a large oil company up in Pennsylvania. They know their way around a tax return. So we offer our services too. We don't charge anything.
Yeah, they're free. And they don't bite either. I call them all the time. And
Yeah,
you know,
we want the business to succeed. The Commissioner Revenue Office, we're the politicians, sorry James, but we want businesses to succeed here in Dale, because if you all are doing good, then the city is doing good. So, and my job is to work for the city and to work for the taxpayer too. That's what we try to do, that fine line. We want you all to succeed, and we want to give you the tools, or some of the tools, to try to help you succeed. But there are things that, like Mark says, there's things, his first slide, like not commingling your money and things like that. Those are some of the pitfalls that we see in a new business starting up and not having enough working capital. It's tough, and especially in a restaurant. Does anybody here have a restaurant? That's one of our biggest ones that we see the failure to, is because there's just not enough capital to get started with. And you've got to have the food, you've got to have the people to serve. But that week or that day that those people don't come in to eat, now you've got bad food, and you've got employees you got to pay. So that's the toughest part. But again, we'd be glad to sit down and talk with anybody at any length on what they're getting ready to do and show them, take them to that point where eventually Mark's people take over and keep your business going. It's hard to be the floor sweeper, the cash register person, the cook, it's hard to wear all the caps in the business. And Mark's people can explain that very well, and we try to keep it so your business is going. So, thank you, Mark. I don't mean to thank you.
No. The more you talk, the less I have to. The commissioner's office is very helpful. I have to call them. I'll call them and say, look, I'm trying to do a business license for a guy. I don't know if we've been doing this thing right, and they always help me. And it's just, there's always gray areas everywhere, and it's always good to call and get an interpretation from somebody. There's help out there. And the last thing Jimmy said is something I think is very important. You can't do it all. Like you said, when you're starting a new business, you almost have to. But eventually, you've got to place a value on your time too. And some of these articles that are in your book, I just printed some things, I'm not going to go over them. But some of them are really interesting, and this one that looks like somebody typed it, it's just got like 10 or 12 comments, and it's called, it's from Slate.com, the Ultimate Small Business Cheat Sheet. And it's Slate's readers' 10 best nuggets of entrepreneurship advice. And they're really pretty good. Some of them are kind of negative, but the one I really like is value your time. It says to pick a dollar amount that your time is worth. You may not actually be paying yourself, but just having the number can help you make day-to-day decisions. For instance, say your time is worth $60 an hour. If Costco will deliver your weekly supplies for $100, it would take you 2 hours to do the shopping yourself, and Costco is the way to go. So, it's a lot of really simple little nuggets in here that make a lot of sense if you think about it. As a small business person, I think you probably spend a lot of time thinking about the big picture. But there's a lot of little things you can probably do better too. James?
I'd like to make a comment, and this isn't a plug for Mark, but kind of just segue from what he just said. I've started a bunch of small businesses too, and the one thing I would have to give advice to is hire a CPA to begin. It's expensive at first, but you will save that much in taxes. You will operate with the proper entity. Your books will be right from the beginning. You'll be compliant, and a year or two down the road, you won't have to go back and try to fix stuff that you realize a year or two down the road you messed up. And that's not a plug for Mark, but that is absolutely, it is the best money you will spend on upfront.
I have to agree with that, and I'm not plugging myself, but it's a lot easier to get that train started
And
than
a
it is to
bookkeeper
push it
that
back on
does
the track.
it, on a monthly basis, it's not the same as a CPA. Bookkeeper is better than nothing, but
Yeah.
a CPA is what you need to start with.
Yeah, I mean, you need to have the conversation up front before you get started, before you get too far in it with probably a CPA. And just to find out mainly about the entity. And to find out if you're doing books right. I mean, let somebody look at it. Let somebody that understands that. Let them look at it. Show them what you're doing. Show them how you're doing it. Because it really is important. And when it's time to do your tax return, if you're paying somebody to do it, if your records are good, your fees will be a whole lot cheaper than handing somebody the test. So, I mean,
You'll pay less taxes too.
yeah.
You really
Because
will, I promise.
it's
Right,
true.
myself.
I mean, I have clients that keep their books. I get an Excel sheet at the end of the year, and it's got, just totals on it. And I'll call them and I can ask them 3 questions. Oh, I forgot to put that on there. I'm like, man, you're missing deductions because you're not keeping your books.
that why the QuickBooks or Eastern is so wide?
It is.
To ask you.
It is, it's very important, you know, if you can write a check with your hand, you can use QuickBooks. If you can fill out a deposit slip and take it to the bank, you can use QuickBooks. It's that easy. But you do need some basic knowledge of accounting. You gotta understand what you're trying to accomplish, but, it's really, you know, I'll tell you, that's a service we do for a lot of our clients, is they're starting up, they want to get on QuickBooks. So we will set up their QuickBooks the way it should be set up on our computer system. We'll take it to their office, pop it on their computer. They're ready to go, they're up and running. We show them, our bookkeepers might spend 2 or 3, 4 hours with them, showing them the basics of how to work QuickBooks or Peachtree. Peachtree's good too. I say QuickBooks just because I like it a little better. But that is invaluable. And we also have clients that bring us their checks every month, and we post every one on the QuickBooks form. We make all their deposit postings to their general ledger package. And that's fine too, because they say, I don't want to fool you. But the ones that want to try to keep their books themselves, it's really, it's a neat thing to have them do it themselves and do it right. Yes, sir.
Question for you, Mark. If a business, small business, large business, or whatever, uses your firm to do their complete bookkeeping, monthly statements, whatever, and then file their tax return, do you guys issue certified statements at the end of the year? For the
We can. We'll either, it depends what the client wants. We can do a compilation, which is the lowest level, which basically says, we take what you give us, fix the stuff we know is wrong, put it on a financial statement. Then we have what's called a review. Now, if we keep the books, we can't do a review because we're not independent. But a review is the next level. We analyze certain relationships. We'll make sure that the ratio of office supplies to gross sales is somewhat in line with what it was the previous year. You just kind of eyeball everything and make sure that it looks and smells right. And then you got an audit, full-blown audit, where we're looking at invoices, filling out checklists that are this long. But yeah, it all depends on what the client needs. We used to really do a lot of compilations because banks wanted them.
Right.
Now the bankers are telling us, look, we'll just take the tax return. We don't need that compilation. So, but a compilation is just what it sounds like. It's take the information from the client, put it on a piece of paper, you compile their information. But yeah, I mean, we issue monthly statements for some clients. We post the bookworks, we give them a monthly financial statement. Some want it quarterly. Some don't want them at all, but they know they have to have them. So, but yeah, I mean, we do as much or as little as the client needs.
But as far as a certification, that's
It's not a certificate.
it's not. You don't certify statements for your clients that you do all the bookkeeping for.
No. No, we can't issue an opinion on
Right.
anything that we do
Right.
ourselves.
You're not independent.
Right. But we can do the compilation.
Okay. The other thing is, people might not know, I would not advise them your payroll.
Oh, payroll is one of the cheapest functions you can sub out to somebody.
It's the easiest to get in trouble.
And if you have a bookkeeper working for you that's doing your company's payroll, I'll bet you she's spending 20 to 30% of her time on payroll-related functions. And she could be, or he could be, doing something more productive. It really is an inexpensive function to sub out. I mean, we do payrolls for probably 150 to 200 local businesses. And, if you've got, say, 10 employees, you're probably talking less than $100 a month. And that's turnkey, that's your quarterly reports, that's the annual W-2s. It's turnkey, it's a piece of cake. We got one lady that does nothing but payrolls. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, that's a good point. Jack?
Sure, most of us either lease or own property. As we're contemplating buying property to operate a business, what are some of the benefits of, say, holding LLC versus having an actual company buy that property?
There are no tax benefits per se. I know that, I've heard insurance agents advise to do that. I've never really liked it, it's just one more thing to deal with, but, I just don't really see the need. It's the same write-offs. It's really, if you have two LLCs out there, one's a rental operation, one's an operating entity, it's a right pocket, left pocket thing as to where your money is. So I don't see a good reason to do it. And there are reasons, but if it's just, you know, if you're running 5 dump trucks up and down the road in your construction company, you might as well just have it over in the construction company. Is that what you're getting at? Am I missing something in your question?
No, that was it.
Okay.
I've just heard that there's mostly liability reasons to do it.
Yeah, well, if you got, if you've got, and that's true, especially with a heavy vehicle. There are obviously, those things wreck, they run over people. But, insurance guys will advise you to do that, but you've got the protection from your operating side if you're in a S corp or LLC. But, every situation is different. But if you're talking heavy equipment, yeah, I think so. If you're talking your office fax machine, probably not.
We want to be sensitive to everyone's time. If there's any questions, we can finish those up. Pass out a survey. I'm sure Mark will be here for a few minutes.
Yeah, if you have a question after.
Questions. But is there any other questions that anybody would like to ask? We really appreciate you all coming. We hope that it was of value to your day. If you could just quickly fill that survey out. You can leave it at your seat. I'll just look it up. And look for more workshops through the growth areas through the chamber.
Thank you, guys. And I'm gonna stick around for a few minutes. If you guys have any questions, I'll try to answer. If not, I'll tell you where to go.